everyone. For today's devotion, we're going to take a look at Luke chapter 2, verses 36 through 38. Now here, Mary and Joseph are traveling to Jerusalem to the temple to dedicate Jesus to the Lord. In verse 23, we see that every firstborn male will be dedicated to the Lord. There they were also offering a sacrifice, 2 young pigeons or turtle doves, as would have been fitting for a young, poor, humble family. Now, while they are there, they are met by 2 incredible prophets of God. The first, Simeon, was an old man who God had promised that would not see death until he had seen the Messiah. Well, as he is there and he sees the baby Jesus, he's overwhelmed with praise as he recognizes that Jesus indeed is the promised Messiah. Now, it is while Simeon is praising God that Anna comes on the scene. So let's begin here in our reading. We're in Luke 2:36. There was also a prophetess, Anna, a daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was well along in years, having lived with her husband 7 years after her marriage, and was a widow for 84 years. Can you imagine? Here, Anna, married only 7 years, was then widowed for 84 years, alone. But Anna loved God with all of her heart. And so we see that as a widow, she did not leave the temple, serving God night and day with fasting and prayers. Widows in Bible days had a tough life. They had no way of caring for themselves, of providing for themselves if they didn't have any family. But Anna, rather than being saddened or destitute, she lived in the temple compound, and there she praised God night and day with fasting and prayers, praying for the coming Messiah. And God's love for her was so great. He saw Anna and loved her and gave her this beautiful gift. So as Anna was hearing Simeon praising God over this little baby, the Messiah, here is what she says in verse 38. At that very moment, she came up and began to thank God and to speak about him to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. So we see Simeon recognizing Jesus as the Messiah, and then Anna comes on the scene, a woman who in Bible days was not looked upon as being high or great. She comes on the scene and begins to share the good news of the promised Messiah with anyone that would listen. Anna was proclaiming that God's Son was here, the salvation of the entire earth. She's sharing the good news to those people then and also to us today. We have that good news. And whereas Anna could have felt like she was forgotten, that her life had not turned out the way she had planned, Anna dedicated herself to God. We can do the same thing too. We can live our lives for God and see the promise that He has for us. We can go out and share the good news of Jesus Christ with people who desperately need hope. And we can offer them the salvation that Jesus brings. So, no, God's timing is perfect. These 2 prophets had been praying and waiting years. They were very well along in years. But God's timing was for them to see the Messiah and to share the good news with all that would listen. And He's got a perfect timing for us too. We just have to be ready and willing.